Sister Gabriella, Talitha Kum launched the call to action last year, November 25th, during the International Day Against Violence on Women, so a very important day. And I have the feeling, reading the text, that there are a lot of echoes from the declaration that you published after the 10th anniversary assembly. Can you tell us which is the legacy of the declaration and the call to action?
Talitha Kum is going throughout a journey. And you are right, there is a deep connection between the statement we had at the end of our assembly, the declaration, and the call to action. At that time, we decided to identify the root causes, the main root causes, according to our experience at the grassroots. And we were able to identify 3 areas. And these 3 areas are also included in the call to action. But there is something more that we gave it for granted during the assembly, and it was the commitment of religious sisters with the survivors and victims of human trafficking. In the call to action, we were able to mention also as one of the main priority we need to advocate for the access to justice, for supporting the healing process of women, men, girls, and boys that are they are victims and survivors of trafficking.
So, if I understand well, the call to action, it's an important step in the journey of Talitha Kum. So, why a call to action after 10 years of life of Talitha Kum?
The call to action is an important step because we are learning to work together. We are learning to how we can strengthen collaboration and networking. And we did it starting from the grassroots, that it is the specificity of our network in caring for survivors. But during the assembly in 2019, we decided that we needed to move ahead also in the area of advocacy and prevention. Few months later, as often happened also with Talitha Kum, the UISG executive decided to implement an advocacy project promoting formation and also the activation of religious sisters in this area. So we were ready to start because we realized that there were a need to to bring the voice and the expertise of religious sisters in this field. Many people are working in advocacy, and each one has its own agenda and its perspective to see the reality of human trafficking. Religious sisters has also their own one, and Talitha Kum is really a privileged perspective, bringing the voice of victim survivors and sisters sharing their life with these people and people at risk of being trafficked. This is the importance of this document, and this is the reason that we are starting now after 10 years, because we are a grassroots-oriented network, not an advocacy-oriented. That means that our advocacy is deeply based on our action on the ground.
Sister Gabriella, what does advocating against human trafficking mean?
Since the very beginning, the sisters realized that it was not enough to support survivors because we were facing such difficulties and challenges that they required a change of society, a change of culture, a change of policies. So advocate is deep linked with our daily action to support survivors. I bring a simple example. We are facing a lot of difficulties to apply for a visa for a victim of trafficking, and we are asking for work and residence visa for a victim of trafficking. But also we are facing big difficulties grant long-term social support for victims of trafficking, and this is part of our advocacy program. At the same time, we know that there are systemic causes that are moving and bringing people into a lot of vulnerabilities, great vulnerabilities exploited by traffickers. And if we want really to reduce trafficking, we need also to address the root causes of trafficking.
So what I'm listening, I understand that the mission of Talitha Kum is really an integrated circle to take care of all the levels of trafficking, human trafficking throughout the world. And Talitha Kum is representing also many religious sisters working to accompany victims and survivors. So which is the call to action that this document is inviting us?
The call to action of Talitha Kum is addressed to everybody. It is not a list of recommendations that we bring to a global governance stakeholders, but is addressed to everybody, starting from religious sisters and religious congregation to join really in the voices of religious sisters together, and to be aware that we have a unique perspective that we need to make stronger, so that people, they can listen and we can really advocate in many reality within the church, with the global governance stakeholders, but also with the way that we are facing and working in this field and with other NGOs, faith-based organizations. This is a very important point. This is also the call to action. We were able to synthesize with 4 verbs that they are. I was really deeply touched when we were able to define them together, because this document is really a document that we wrote involving many of the expertise of religious sisters committed against human trafficking. And the first one I read is the care. So the first one is the care, is a call to action to care for victims of human trafficking and exploitation and for people at risk. To heal physical, psychosocial, and spiritual wounds. To empower victims and survivors, as well as individuals at risk, by amplifying their voices. To restore human dignity by promoting access to justice. And we added to them 4 areas: access to justice for survivors and victims of trafficking, empowering women and girls, because the inequalities between men and women is still a leading structural cause of human trafficking. So we need to work very hard together on that. Supporting safe and legal migration pathways. Trafficking in person is deeply connected with the migration situation of today, and we need to address that in a proper way. And then promoting an economy of care and solidarity. COVID taught us that the best way that we need to be very active in caring, and we need to move into an economy of care to counteract, to overcome the economy of exploitation that is leading into human trafficking.
Caring, healing, empowering, restoring. 4 key verbs, which I feel very connected, Sister Gabriella, with the name of the project, Talitha Kum.
Oh yes,
Talitha Kum. Spiritual invitation
Yes, I received yesterday a donation of a song, a meditative song, a contemplative song, composed by a spiritual director from the US, and Jane, and I would like to thank her. And this is really, this Talitha Kum is a strong, powerful word that is really is helping us in standing up and empower one each other and enabling one each other in building up life, a real life, in caring one each other. And this is really simple, amazing.
I would like to continue listening to you, but I have some other questions. And first is, what are the next steps to implement the call to action?
The next steps, we need to work together. We disseminate immediately after November 25th with an official communication this document to key partner, ambassadors to the Holy See, Vatican's organization, to say, we are here to dialogue with you. So this is the next step, is to continue this dialogue, bringing the voice of religious sisters to this reality that they are the one that we are in charge as Talitha Kum International for being part of UISG, the International Union of Superior General. But of course, there is a work to be done, empowering, strengthening also our network at the grassroots level, asking them to take this document, to study this document, and to use them. This is not a static document. It is not, let me say, it is an open source that everybody can feel, is giving like some indicators for the pathway, but every country is able, every network, local network, will be able to identify. So next step will be more in training, empowering, and ensuring that this document will be implemented, and not doing like many laws that they are written and they are not implemented.
So it's not an empty document,
no.
It's full of life. This is why, Gabriella, if you can share with us, our first audience is superior generals and religious sisters throughout the world. So which is the spiritual inspiration that leading you in this direction, in this call to action?
Is the deep listening of the word Talitha Kum. Since I arrived here, I think that this is the word of the gospel that I mostly pray. But I invite you also to bring this document. It is, you can download it on the website of Talitha Kum and to read it and try to identify. I'm sure that every congregation will be able to identify a piece that is speaking about their own charism. It is not a document for one charism, but it is a document speaking about religious sisters throughout the world, trying to embrace the diversity of the charism, because it is rooted in the Word of God, that is the one, and in Jesus Christ, it is the one gathering all of us around our commitment in the field of anti-trafficking.
Tomorrow we will celebrate the 8th World Day of Reflection and Prayer Against Human Trafficking. Which is the connection between the theme of this day and the call to action?
The theme is the power of care, women, economy, human trafficking. Again, we are journeying throughout this work in the commitment against human trafficking. And this International Day of Prayer, the 8th edition, will focus on the power of care. And you can recognize the first verb of our call to action is to care. And the care is really a very important action, is a very important activity that we need to improve, to implement, and to move ahead. Also the care for ourselves. In this time, we were also deep wounded by the crisis and the difficulties due COVID-19. But again, women, economy, and human trafficking. Women as the first key experience or the first reality, the person that should lead the way on this International Day of Prayer. Women, not only because we are the one most targeted by traffickers and set in situation of vulnerabilities, but also women because we have something important to say in combating human trafficking.
So women, economy, and human trafficking will be the theme of the marathon that tomorrow we will experience together to pray and to deep in awareness against human trafficking.
And I invite you all to join us in the marathon of prayer, the power of care, women, economy, human trafficking. We will be online from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Italian time zone. And also Pope Francis will join us with a video message and some experts on economy and the impact of this economy on women. And we will try the network, and many organization partners will be with us, the section Migrants and Refugees of the Dicastery for the Integral Human Development, Caritas Internationalis, the World Union of Catholic Women Association, the Focolari Movement. They will be with us. And together we will pray and celebrate the Saint Batita.
Sister Gabriella, thank you very much for your mission. Thank you for the call to action. And thank you to all the sisters, brothers, and lay people who daily work against human trafficking. Sister Gabriella, you have the opportunity now to send your call to action to our Superior General, who are our members. Which is your call to action to our sisters?
Sister, this is the call to action. The only way I can say that Talitha Kum is our network, is the network of religious sisters throughout the world. I hope that it will be our house also to improve commitment. And I invite you to ask your sister, to invite your sister to be part of this amazing movement, slowly by slowly recognized globally as a leading movement led by religious sisters in the world. So you are welcome.
Thank you again, Sister Gabriella. And please download the document on www.talithakum.info. It's available in different languages and share with your community and your congregation.